Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. Thank you so much for joining. I'm joined today with my guest, who I was just on her show a few days ago, Michele, on Michelle's Opinions YouTube channel. I do have her link below if you want to check out that channel. Definitely want to do that and subscribe. She has a lot of great guests on, not just because I was on there, but other interesting guests that you'll enjoy watching. How are you doing today, Michele?
I'm doing good. I just got done doing a live stream open format and allowed people to email, and I gave them the link, and they came on for about 5 minutes and told a little bit about themselves, and it was pretty amazing. Good turnout.
It's an amazing time, and sorry I got your email late. I would have hopped on there and said hello. Seeker of Truth, thank you. She says she loves the intro. Metal Rabbit's here. April Lunsford, Yellow Sun, Bob Bant, Maureen Moreau. I'm sure
Bob.
You recognize some of these names, right?
Hey, Seeker.
So I did want to start out, before we get started with the interview, I wanted to show something here that I got from Jose in the mail, which is really cool here. Let's see here. This here is a tiny little Bible. I don't know if you guys can see it, but she showed it on her show before. Let's see what else we got in here.
It's an unboxing.
Yeah, it's an unboxing. What is this? It's like a big O.
A big Omega.
A big O. Well, that's actually an inside joke. She didn't send that. She did a show once about the big O, which I won't say what that is. You guys can go look at her video, and Bibles. And I said, you're the only one that can cleverly combine the Bible with the big O. So, the big O, that good feeling. So anyway, so she even sent, well, I lost it now. It was this tiny little note. I have no idea how she wrote that small in there, but here, I'll open up the Bible and you can see the writing on it is so tiny. I'm trying to get it where you can see, maybe kind of bright, but there we go. So the writing is so tiny. I had my son look at it because my eyes can't see, and sure enough, I had him check the first verse in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it does indeed say the heaven and the earth. It has been Mandela affected. So that's why she sent it to me, because we were wondering if it was too small to be affected by the Mandela effect, but it wasn't. It has been affected. So, all right, on to our guest.
Too small. Wow.
Yeah, I thought maybe, she's like, don't worry about it. Nobody can read that little thing. She said she got it on a bottle of hot sauce or something. So lots of love and light to everyone in the chat. And so how long have you had your channel going, Michele?
I'm 2 months and 3 days old. That's it. I started. What brought me out was that issue with David Hogg, and trying to get that woman fired by removing her sponsorship. And they were interviewing him about it and how he felt about her apology that she made. And he was so cruel and basically said if anybody else comes up against him, he's going to do the same thing. And that popped to my quirk. So I made a little video, about that. And it was a few days later before I started, opening up and making, videos. So over a gradual period of time. And then I had so much to say. It was like, so if anybody looks there's a lot of content, but you can also see the growth process with the channel as it's, as it's moving into the different stages as it's going. And I'm very, very happy about it. Very happy.
That's awesome. Well, welcome aboard to the YouTube community. So glad I could maybe get you a subscriber or two. Hopefully, I do have your link below for those that are just hopping in here. We have 52 people already. Normally hit around 100 or so. So But it is kind of late in the day. I do have a lot of Euro viewers, and they'll join tomorrow, I guess.
Don't tell me how many you're watching. I'll get nervous.
Oh, it's fine. It's the most loving group. I mean, it's like been a divine gathering of people. It's just so amazing. I'm just blown away, to be honest with you, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. I feel honored. You know.
I love floating in your stream. I tell you, the energy there is very attractive. You do feel the love. You feel the warmth. It's just an amazing group of people that gather in your streams. It's homey feeling. I feel at home there. It's very welcoming. Yes.
That's awesome. Seeker of Truth. Until Jose gets here, I'm gonna mod you. So everything's cool. There's no reason to need a mod, but Seeker of Truth's been with me since the beginning, so she should have already had a wrench.
She's mods my stream.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
She's the mod of many channels.
That's awesome.
She is good at what she does. I mean, she's very good at what she does. And when you find somebody that, you know, and I've seen her moderation talents. So immediately, yeah, I arranged her. And she's in our group. We have a chat group. It's called Flame. And I know her from in there. So I know her personally. And then I also have seen her moderate streams. So yeah, I rinsed her right off the bat. And she does a really good job. I appreciate her.
Yeah, when I was really small, around the size of your channel, Unirock had me on, and I got a boost from him. And a lot of my moderators are from his live streams early on. And hello, Jamie, welcome. We got another moderator here. He's probably too nice to kick anybody out, but at least he's got his wrench. It looks scary to some people, right?
Yeah, it's always a shame when, you know, you have to remove comments, or because nobody wants to do that. I mean, if we can all be respectful of each other, that's what, you know, it's all about, is learning to get along with each other and show the love, show the respect for one another. And yeah, that's what, you know, that's my goal in my channel, is unity and diversity. But I know you're going to interview me. I'm getting to the point of get ready to give my testimony.
Yeah. So tell me about your beginnings. And you started out in the church, right?
I did. I did. I was brought up Christian, Lutheran for a while, and then we went to Oklahoma, then into Methodist. But in 2001, I started having, but the doctor called them night terrors. But now looking back at it, what I see it more, I was leaving my body. I was able to see myself. Like, I would rise above and I could see the way I was laying in the bed. And it was very odd and disturbing. Well, you know, I had 2 children to raise. I was holding down 2 jobs, trying to take care of them. And so the doctor said I was having night terrors. Here, take this pill. And, you know, they ceased. Well, in 2012, the pill didn't matter. The breakthrough happened. And oh boy, did it come through hot and heavy. Woo! So it's been, what is that, 17 years? But with the nice little 11, oh my God, 11, gateway, synchronicity, I love synchronicity, 11 year gap of in between. But I don't think that in that time period that the work ceased. I think it was more being done like on the inner workings to get me ready for the big knock me on my butt. But when I interviewed you, there was a lot of synchronicities in your testimony, and you brought up, you know, the darkness, that part, and it's really important. And we've talked about this, how important it is to let people know that it's not all love, joy, and floating around on cloud 9. There's parts of that go on within each and every one of us that needs to be stripped away, because you've got almost like a false identity going on, false information. And if you've been raised up in it, or, you know, and it's well in programmed into you or indoctrinated into you, and it's not the proper foundation, you feel like your whole world's been ripped out from underneath of you. And it could be pretty depressing. I mean, and scary and mind-bending at the same time. And I frightened my relatives and stuff by what was going on. And, you know, I am glad for the journey because of where it's taking me. But I feel compassion for people that are going through that part of it because been there, done that.
And it can be rough and it can be trying because it's like, all of the, I don't know, it's almost like your anchor has been pulled away and it's like you're sort of floating out in never land and, with nothing to grab onto. And it seems like it's an endless battle, but you do finally you do come out the other end of it. And it doesn't seem like you ever will, but, so what's been your journey with getting sort of unindoctrinating yourself from, the teachings of the church?
Well, in my adult life, I did fall away from the church, but it still was ingrained in me as a child. But when I had my own children, I don't know if it was instinctual or what was going on in the inner workings. I did not force them to participate in a religious background that I was brought up in. I let them choose and decide, and they went with their aunt sometimes to different churches, and I allowed them to explore. So I'm so thankful that I did that for them. But a part of it is the doctrines like that. The one that troubled me the most when this happened in 2012, and I had what I would call, at being brought up in the Christian church, a Holy Spirit baptism, was being raptured out of here, knowing or thinking in my mind that people were going to be left here to suffer, to be tortured, or to go through this, tribulation period. Well, I have to tell you guys, this process that we're going through, this refinement, reminds me of that very tribulation period that's happening in each one of us independently. It's not like, okay, there will be things going on globally, yes, because we're confused. Once people get their understanding, that stuff will settle down. But I feel like I went through tribulation. But the part, before I realized that, my heart was literally broken, thinking that I was going to get sucked out of here and my husband, my children, my family members were going to be left here to suffer. I couldn't handle it. It broke my heart. So that was one of the big things that, really troubled my mind and my heart in the beginning. But as the process went on, before this Holy Spirit baptism, again, I started with those lucid dreaming. I started having dreams and visions, and I was sharing them with my husband. And then we would walk through them, and he's like, oh my gosh, wow, this is a trip. Well, this is kind of funny, Shane. In January 2015, I had a dream of Mr. Trump on election night. Okay. I told my husband about it. It was such a weird dream. It was like there was a split screen TV, and on the right side, it was all lit up. Wait, right side. Hopefully it shows right over there, not left, because I know everything goes inverted on Hangouts. Okay, on the right side, it was all lit up, and you could see red, white, and blue balloons, and the nice fine linens and goldware, and and Mr. Trump is shaking hands, and then on the left side, it was completely dark. There was no light at all over there. So I told my husband about this, and we had to write this down because I'm like, that is a total pizza dream. That's a joke. Couldn't happen. Just couldn't. He had just raised his hand up, and I thought, it was a joke. He's not really running for president. Come on. He was up against 17 actual politicians, And then as time progressed, he became the nominee. And I'm like, huh? And then he was president. And of course, we went digging, where I wrote that down to find out when I had that dream. Because my husband and I were like, what? So that's one thing that I'm learning is when we're seeing this stuff, you don't know if it's tomorrow because you're outside of time. And it feels like it's right now, but it could be something that's going to happen years ahead of time. But I'll tell you, that one was a mind bender. And I think we're given those breadcrumbs just to know we're going in the right direction.
Definitely, yeah. That was mind blowing too when I saw how well he was doing. And if I would have voted, I probably would have voted for him just to shake things up because he was totally not a politician. And the fact that he would say a lot of the things he said, I was like, clearly you've got, one person that seems a lot worse and are saying all the wrong things that a politician shouldn't say, because you should be fake. As a politician, you're supposed to be fake and tell the people what they want to hear. And that's what the other candidates seem to be doing. But it was almost like this candidate seems better, and but it's like they're lying to you. And seemed worse, but it was like he was being honest. So it's like, I think he will shake things up if he gets in there. And so I was kind of rooting for him, but I don't participate in politics or anything. But it was neat to see, the underdog sort of get in there. And then a lot of the things they said were going to happen if he got in office aren't really happening. The world didn't come to an end. So it's just
exactly. And and think about how we were brought up. Okay, the Bible, I read the Bible differently now. I look at it as a beautiful transition and I also think about, Moses was not allowed in the promised land. Moses represents the law. He's not allowed in the promised land. But that doesn't promote lawlessness. There is a transition going on within people. And it's such a beautiful transition. And it's like our stony hearts they're now becoming fleshly hearts. And we're loving each other. I would not ever want to hurt anybody. You don't come out of this with malice or wanting to do harm with anybody. But I did find myself saying, go Trump, go. I dreamed about this. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, I didn't go vote either. I'm a registered voter, but I chose to observe. I wanted to observe what was going on. Now, I have to tell you, he won my husband over. My husband's been watching this go on as a bystander, and he is on his path of awakening, but everybody's is unique to them. And he actually finally registered to vote, and he went out and voted for him. And I was like, well, your one vote is going to just totally make that happen. That dream is going to totally be done now because your one vote. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to ask if you had similar stuff like that going because our interview,
it goes
but
so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really does. And then, other things get stirred up too, like when that Holy Spirit baptism, or which I know now is something that's more like chakra cleansing or Kundalini awakening. I mean, other people call it different things, but it's the same thing. That I was able to speak in a different language, something that it came on. It lasted about an hour and a half, and I felt like I was lifting off the ground. That feeling that I was floating away, and it stopped. I thought I would never be able to do that again. I was like, oh, okay. But then a couple of weeks later, it came back. And it seems like over time, we're spending more time in that higher realm, and that's more now comfortable to us. And then when we have to deal with that lower energy or feel it, it's, I realized, my gosh, we walked around with that heavy energy on us all the time. Oh, it feels like oppression, and I think of like what I have behind me, the flower of life, how we're all interlinked and how different decisions affect other people, can drag you down or, lift you up. And my heart is to try to lift people up because I think the boots have been on our neck long enough. It's time for us to rise up and be the beings that that we are, not that we're becoming. It's like we're remembering, being restored or, remember, it's coming back into our remembrance that, and it even says in scripture, we're all given the divine breath of life. And so, through the Bible, if you take away religion and just set that aside, shelf it, and you read the Bible and you're going through this and you're seeking with your heart, you're going to find, and then you'll be able to, as they say, rightly divide the word. And you'll see, you may not see it the same way I do, and that's okay because, is God so small that he can't talk to each of us individually? Uh-uh. it is so beyond any kind of barriers or walls or anything that we could even comprehend. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's like so many times you see that a lot of the limitations that are put on God are just man-made limitations. Well, he has to work from this structure or this structure, or he can't heal you unless you're in church and things like that. We talked about in the interview I did on your show, and it's all man-made limitations. And a loving Creator God will come and find us wherever we're at and help us up when we make a mistake, as long as we're seeking truth and seeking to progress in our development. I think we have help, unconditional love and help that is never ending, and resources that we can tap into at any time that we just don't usually do until we're so down on our luck that we cry out for help and then we get it. But really, we can get it at any time.
And yeah, and that touch not, look not, be, there's so many taboos put on certain things. I think that's part of, keeping us in that cell, keeping us into conformity, where, people are reconnecting or connected. For some cultures, they never disconnect. And it's just a beautiful thing that people are bringing forth this information and putting it out there for people. But yeah, I had to leave the doctrines of men, is what they call it. And, the scriptures, then they did guide me through, because that was the tool that I used. That doesn't mean that's going to be the same tool for everybody. But through the Bible, seeing the gifts laid out helped me to understand, okay, that's not of the devil. Because that was the first thing my husband said is, oh my gosh, that speaking in tongues is of the devil. I mean, there was a lot of fear going on. I was freaking out and I didn't understand it. But in that book, I found that no, it's right here in the Bible. So if you're, of Christian faith, then why are you saying this is of the devil? It's not, so it's a growing process.
Totally. And, you can really see how Jesus the Christ, his message has been twisted into something else. And he really gave the religious leaders of his time a hard time. He was really a rebel, but we don't, we're not taught that. But when you see how he says we'll do things like he does and greater, and they're not really teaching it in church, but you can see why they don't want, a whole bunch of Jesus Christ type characters walking around, because they were rebels to the structure of religion.
And and there, you're right. He says that when you see me, you'll be like me, and these things they will do and more in the latter days. So, what are we expecting? I know what the doctrines have put out, okay, but what if they were wrong? They only taught what they knew. I've come to the conclusion that people really have not taught us wrong. They taught what they knew, what they learned. They taught. But, even in the Bible, it says to follow the water bearer. We're in that dawning of that new age. It's pretty exciting to have been on the one side and on the other, and having the gifts stirred up within us and then operating in them and realizing that, the one thing that helped me with forgiveness, the one tool that I used that just really helped me with forgiveness, was realizing that I was a participant in creating whatever was going on that I went through. So how can I hold somebody blame for, when we were both unaware that we were creating that situation? Now, as we're becoming more self-aware and it's being stirred up to our remembrance, I think more responsibility comes with that. And we need to be mindful, and that's where that comes in, of capturing, taking our thoughts into captivity to make sure we're not creating something that could harm somebody else. But the new heart that we get, my gosh, you don't want to hurt anybody else. You just don't. And you want to use the gift stirred up in you to help other people.
Service to others. Yeah.
Yes. And
so back to your journey, 2012. I want to get back. I want to touch on the dreams before is it what people would term sleep paralysis, that type of thing? Is that how you would, the medication they had you on, is that how you would view it?
The sleep paralysis, I have encountered that. But just like I say, with everything, you learn to crawl, then you walk, and then you run, then you fly. The sleep paralysis feels to me like an energy harness now that is put on, but it was more for my benefit to get my attention. So now I look at if I'm getting sleep paralysis, which I don't get it much anymore because now I can, except for last night, I had this really crazy dream. When I lay in the bed and the bed starts to vibrate a little bit, I'll dismiss it to earthquakes because I'm in California, oh, I'm in a little earthquakes, whatever. But then my ears will go, "Woo," and they'll do a ringing or a humming sound. And then I'm taken somewhere, or I go and I observe something, either remote viewing, astral projecting, leaving my body or something. So the sleep paralysis did happen. And it helped me to overcome the fear of that. And now it rarely happens. But yeah, it's definitely a part of this growing process. Sleep paralysis, I did have that happen with me. Yes.
How long did it take you to get over that? Okay, so I've been to the point where I've had the buzzing, and it's like it's just over. It's really in the head and the body, but it's like it takes over your senses. So like your eyes and your ears are just really buzzing really hard, and it's like fear will has typically took over at that point, and then it pulls me out of it. But so did you ever get past that fear point that comes on when it's like so overwhelming at that point?
Yes, it takes time, and that's why I tell people to be patient and be kind with yourself. Because I panicked and would shake myself awake many times when that was happening, and then we would try again. They would try again and try again. And I think that maybe I feel that we're being helped. I do think that there is help out there that is helping us along to remember and bring us along. But again, you have to ask for the help, and then, and of course, just like you said, ask for it and it comes. And over time, I started getting too excited about it. Like, oh, what kind of a journey I'm going to go on, and I found that hindered things too. So then when I just whenever I can feel like now I need to realize that when I feel the veggies, they're going to take me and show me something, and to just be prepared and not be too excited or scared that we're going to go on a journey. And then it'll get to the point, Sheen, that you'll realize that you're in a dream. And when that happens, I have to tell you, I've been able to lift myself up off the ground. I've been able to glide. I've been able to fly. And that's something to look forward to. So obviously, you're on the right track, and it's going to move along, and just keep seeking for it. You're getting prepared. That's what I consider that, like being prepared, so that way you can go and see beyond just what's going on here in this 3D. You're going to see some amazing things. It's awesome. It just really is. And yeah, check back with me when you realize that you're in a dream, and you can like pull yourself up and look down. You can still see yourself. I can still see myself. And then I see myself as like an actor, in this scenario. And then I can look at it like, okay, what's the best plan of action here to not egg the situation on? And, do I want to participate, or am I going to withdraw? So it helps with making future decisions and stuff to, get your own house in order first, and then apply it to everything and everyone around you. It's really a wonderful tool. You're going to really enjoy it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I heard on one channel they were talking about targeted individuals, and they were talking about being attacked in their sleep, and it was exactly this this very thing that I was talking about, and it got me thinking, what? I'm being attacked in my sleep? Is that what's happening? It started like right after I started my channel. Was I being targeted? And I think there's some disinformation out there, because if they can keep you feeling like you're being attacked when this begins to happen, and it's really preparing you for something really beautiful, it can really create a blockage right there. Because if you go into defensive mode, oh my God, I'm being attacked right now, or demons are attacking me, then you'll never progress through that gateway. You'll never have that breakthrough that I've been dying to have. It's just, it hasn't come back. And I've heard you can sit still like long enough that you can feel it coming on. And I've reached that point, but I always fall asleep. Since that first time, I'll feel the zing coming on, and then like I'm out, and it's like, wake up the next day and I'm like, I missed it again. But
you may not have missed it, my friend. You may have went, you just don't remember. So, wow. So you actually have this anomaly happen in day visions too. So is that what you're saying? Like when you felt this, you were awake?
well, I was just awake in the bed, not moving, and trying to stay real still because I heard someone saying that you trick your body into thinking that you're asleep, and then it like cuts off the it because during anesthesia you can't feel anything or move or anything, and that's sort of that sleep paralysis point, and it's all connected, is what this person was saying, and that if you can stay still enough and not move, because your body will do things like make you scratch your nose or make you readjust your head a little bit. And if you can fight those urges, it will help you get to that point where you can have a breakthrough. But like I said, I just get to that point. I don't get that way in meditation, only when I'm going to bed, but I'll typically go to bed early and try to lay there awake enough to stay lucid or conscious during these journeys. But so far, I know I'm going somewhere because I'll wake up really wore out. I don't feel like I had a full night's sleep. It feels like I've been doing something all night, working an 8-hour shift or something. And it's like, wow, I sure don't feel rested as I should.
Yeah, I did a couple videos on dream workers, and we're all working in our sleep. And I'll tell you, just because you're not remembering it doesn't mean you're not doing it. That's what I would ask for, is to be able to remember. And have you ever noticed that when you concentrate on something, like if you're told not to do something, don't scratch your nose, don't, then that's all you're thinking about is don't scratch my nose. And so now you're going to want to scratch your nose. So try to just, when you're laying there, just think blank piece of paper, blank piece of paper, blank piece of paper. That's what helped me. And I can have them now daytime or nighttime. Usually I get the best, clearest messages when I'm by myself, swimming in my pool, showering. For some reason, water is a real good, but that's because I think that's what it's going to be for me. For other people, it can be something different. I actually had my daughter on her birthday, and her friend was over, and they were swimming and they were horsing around and making all this ruckus and everything. And I was just observing this, And her friend turned around and looked at me and said, "You're so zen." I'm like, "Zen? That's not a normal word in my vocabulary. What's zen?" So then now I'm hearing people say zen all the time. It's like, what?
That's funny how it seems like buzzwords come into our awareness like that.
Yeah, and I love synchronicities. Oh my gosh, I love them. I do. But yeah, that's what, if that tool helps you, then try it. Instead of not thinking about, instead of thinking of something you should not do, think of something, just blank piece of paper. You're not thinking about nothing or worrying about nothing. You're just going,
Yeah. I have noticed when I get to that point, though, a lot of times I'll get, it's especially lately, I'll get these images, like either random just images or footage. It's like I'm just observing something, but not a part of it, like a dream where you're part of it. It's more like I'm just seeing just different visuals, and sometimes it's even been like crystal geometric patterns and stuff. The other day I woke up and I was just telling my wife how it was like I was seeing like material, like if you were to look at denim really close and you see like the pattern in the material, but it was geometric patterns, almost like a wall and with hieroglyphs all over it or something. It wasn't like a repeating pattern like denim, but it was like all pattern, and I was kind of amazed by it, really, because it was just so wild that I was tapping into that, but I was still like half asleep, half awake, and could remember it. So it was really cool. So things are happening. I can't explain them all, but I know things are happening. What's been your experience with the Mandela effect? How did you become aware of it?
Well, it was in my Bible. I don't mean to keep bringing up the Bible, but
Oh no, you're in good company with bringing up the Bible. That's all good.
it was my Bible in my hand, the one that like zinged me, and is when Caesar's image is on the penny now, and I knew the day before it was on the denarius, and that it zinged, and I felt like a little like electrical, not a violent bolt, but like this energetic, I was like, ooh, now I look at things like with deja vu and stuff like that. Is like what we saw in the Matrix. Is that the same black cat? It's like nothing's changed. What else? But that was a personal one that happened. And Interview with a Vampire. I am a huge Brad Pitt fan. Always have been. And he was in that movie Legends of the Fall. They better not have changed that one too. But I knew it was Interview with a Vampire. There's several vampires in the movie. He's not the only vampire around. You know what I mean? It doesn't even make sense. Interview with there's only one vampire in the whole world, and he got an interview with that one vampire.
Right.
The movie is just peppered with vampires all the way through it. So, yeah, that was another one that hit home. And I came across Moneybags 73. And yeah, just the comfort that we get from people putting this stuff out there, that you're not losing your mind, because I tell you, it's walking that fine line of, your reality is not what you thought it was. Am I losing my mind? Am I going mad? Is my memory? Do I have Alzheimer's? Am I in confabulation? All these labels that they're throwing around out there. And, even with the one you brought up earlier, where, they're calling them targeted individuals to set up those blocks so they will not go through and press through. They're going to try and put up walls. And maybe people are truly afraid of what's going on. And I think that's part of the reason why I took so long to come out and talk about it, is because I didn't want to scare anybody with what was going on with me. I don't know what kind of videos I would have put out. Now, I did watch that video that you shared of your Mandela effect. You were panicking. And I'll tell you what, a lot of my videos would have been, oh my gosh, the sky's falling. Be careful. Don't cross the road, chicken. You're going to get hit. But so I waited. And also with, I'm a wallflower. I like to be the observer, But then I thought, you know what? This message is way too important. And if I can bring even this small amount of comfort to anybody to help them move along, then I need to put it out there. And so that's what brought me out of the shadows, so to speak. But that's also what took me so long, Shane, is because, I know you've been going through it since, I think you said 2011. And then in 2017, you started your YouTube channel. And you went through your dark night in 2016. So, you popped out and you made your channel and started spreading the good news about this amazing thing going on. And I'm really proud of you for, you put yourself right out there right away. More of a chicken,
Thanks. Yeah, well, the dark night of the soul for me made me completely fearless of dying. And, I always thought like that would be a cop out. If they were trying to shut me up and offed me or something, I'd be like, all right, cool. I get an early ticket out of here. I'm not, suicidal or anything, but
right.
If I get a free pass and I can watch from the sidelines, I wouldn't mind, but I'm going to stick around as long as I can. But yeah, I think fear of death is a huge thing that they'll use against us to make us afraid of, I don't know. I'm just fearless now. I don't even
look
care.
At that as a graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you die of natural causes, I do think that people that are victims or of a traumatic event, they may have to come back and do it again, but like people that die, of old age, or I think of it as more of a celebration, a graduation. They're moving on to the next level. So it's more, and I do not fear. I am not afraid. And even if something violent happened at this time, I would forgive them. I would hold no ill will and have no judgment on it and just move on, because I know that this is all a process and it's infinite. It's infinite.
Definitely. So did you lose your fear of death after your dark night of the soul?
Yeah, and that was another thing people talk about a lot is they think they died. I got a couple of accidents, pretty serious accidents, and I don't know. Maybe I did die and pop into this reality, and then I died in the other one and popped into this other reality. I don't know. I mean, so why would I fear it? I mean, we know and if you look in just different cultures, and you know, it doesn't matter if this breaks religious backgrounds and history and all of that, that there is more to us than just this mortal body that we're in, this avatar, so to speak. And when we're ready to shed this avatar and move on, but while we're in this avatar, you know, we can experience things, you know, like physical touch and love, and you know, and coming out of the duality and heading into the golden age, and just being able to use these gifts and apply them instead of being an observer that can't do anything unless you're asked to participate and help. You know, I think there are some, I don't know, cosmic rules to the game here, that when people come here, or when beings come to Earth, that, you know, one of the things that we agree to is to remember to forget. And then it's a process of remembering and then applying what we remember, and then taking that with us and expanding. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to all theories, and because I see that they all lead to the same direction, no matter where you're coming from or what language the universe is talking to you in, it's going to bring us all to the same place. So it's a narrow path because you're the only one on it.
That's so funny. When I was in church, I felt like I was on a narrow path from the world. You know, you feel like, well, I'm in church, I'm on the narrow path. But then as you figure things out and you leave the church, the path gets narrower, and then you realize that the people in the church seem like they're on the broader path, and you're on the narrower one because nobody would come with you out on the limb. And it's like it just continually funnels down to a narrower and narrower path. But it's cool because it's like we went through the wilderness. At least for me, it's like I was so alone for so long, and now I've come into this clearing out of the wilderness, and I found all these other people that went through their narrow path, and it's totally like I don't feel so alone anymore. Maybe in real life, there's not awake people around me as much, but you know, online at least, so many people have similar stories, and like you said, they've taken their path to get sort of to the same place.
And are activating, and it seems like people go after the activations in their heart. So whatever your heart's designed, do you want to be a healer? Well, then you're going to enhance that ability within you. You want to remote view, you're going to be able to remote view. You want to prophesy, that, you know, it's wherever your heart, and you're going to apply your gifts and your abilities to that. So it's like you're going to do what you're passionate about. And it doesn't mean that everything's not available to everybody, because it is. But people are going to thrive, and you're going to see people happier when they're doing what their passion is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, do you think that has to do with our previous lives? We've had experience doing certain things, so we tend to be more talented, you know, more easily talented doing certain things.
I think that there is something to that. You know, I know within our doctrine, you know, in the church, that no, there's no reincarnation. No, you know, and I'm a little more open to that, because first of all, I had that weird dream last night, and you know, with that humming in my ears and the bed vibrating, and then I felt that energetic. It feels like an energetic suit is put around me. It's different for everybody, but what I was shown, I know that that individual, whether it was me or not, prior to me coming this time, I don't know, but they wanted justice. So they were not in a place of forgiving whoever did what, you know, that event to them. So possibly ended up having to come back and try it again. Makes me think about, you know, when they were hanging Christ on the cross, and he was telling them that he forgives them. He took no judgments with him, so he could progress along and be at that other. So he said it's beneficial, so he could be at this other level, so that way he can come and help whoever calls on him to move them along. And people, you know, they call themselves Christians, but it's actually more like Christ consciousness. It's an awareness in these abilities and these gifts that are stirred up within each and every one of us. It's an amazing thing. I mean, it's just, I wish, I know, you know, I'm sure everybody, and including you, wish we knew this when we were kids, right? Like we grew up knowing this, right? But there are people that have that. They've been blessed with that third eye or kundalini. It's part of their culture, part of their tribe. So they nurture that, that process throughout their life. And that's wonderful. So, but for other of us, we've been conformed, we've been programmed, and we have to be like deprogrammed. So our foundation, that house built on the sand, it's washed away so we can be built on that strong foundation. And there's truth in that. So I say, if you're using the Bible as a tool, don't worry about the doctrines in the church. Read the Bible yourself, press through, and get the clear understanding that's going to resonate with you to get you down the path. If it's hieroglyphs, use the hieroglyphs. Just go for it. It's no matter what avenue, I'm finding unity and diversity, and that we're all coming into this one understanding of who and what we are. And it's beautiful. And we're helping each other. We are, by talking about it in an honest, authentic way, and trying to get the fear out of the way. Get that fear out of the way. And, targeted individuals. That's a fear-based logic there. But that's all we knew. That's all we knew. We were afraid of everything. But now we're coming into this understanding of, go through it. You're going to be okay. Because that fear is gone and it's replaced with this unconditional love. It's just beyond comprehension. I can't give it words to do it justice.
Yeah, it is an experience, though, no matter how you look at it. If you can remove that hurdle of fear. To get back to the, for anyone that might be thinking about reincarnation and you've spent your life in Christianity and it's against doctrine about reincarnation, I want to point you to a certain scripture. There's several of them, but probably the best one I've come across is the one where, Jesus is asked about Elijah must come first before the Messiah comes. And he says, Elijah already came. And then it says that his disciples realized he was talking about John the Baptist. Now, of course, we know that the Bible talks about John the Baptist being born and them naming him and all of this happening in the Bible. So, it wasn't like he, because Elijah was taken away in the Old Testament. We know it wasn't that he came back to earth. He was actually born again. And he came in the power and spirit of Elijah, I think is maybe how it's worded. So doctrine might be against it, but when you get to reading the Bible yourself, you'll see certain instances that look like it's talking about someone being reincarnated, coming back in spirit and reanimating a new body, which is reincarnation, So just do your own study, because not everything that's in doctrine the Bible supports, in my opinion, because I found numerous things like this that it seems like the church is against it, but then you read the Bible with an open mind and open heart, and you realize that, this looks like it's saying the opposite of what the church is saying. So you've got to do your own research,
Yes, you do. And the oddity, of the Bible itself changing, and I wonder why that there's people that won't acknowledge the changes, and some of them are really significant. I mean, Isaiah 11:6. I mean, there's posters, there's residuals of that lion and the lamb, but they won't. I don't understand that. Is it like, when these changes are happening, are they receiving the update in them to see it like a normal? Because maybe we were like that before. We were already doing this, and maybe there's a third party anomaly going on, so we weren't able to see it, or our eyes are being opened up to that we've been doing this all along, and collectively we just go along with the flow. Just it's a paradigm that I'm noodling around in my mind right now to try and get a better concept of this. Well, what we're calling, quote unquote, the Mandela effect. I am trying to, understand why certain people can see it. And I do think, everyone will in time, but we can't have the whole world go nuts at the same
time. That's so true. Yeah, and we're sort of establishing a community that they can come to. All these people are not freaking out about it, and So yeah, it's amazing, and that was, you saw in the video that I posted when I first came into the whole Mandela effect thing. It was so hilarious to me at first to see these paintings of lions and lambs, and they would have the scripture on the bottom, and it would say, "The wolf shall dwell with the lamb," and it was just so funny to me. And I don't know, it was just exciting. It was like I woke up in a sci-fi movie. I mean, I was freaking out about it, but in a really excited sort of way, not really fearful. It was just wild to me, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it is. I mean, you feel like, and I tell you, my cigarettes help me keep my feet on the ground, because there was times I felt like I was lifting off. I mean, it's such a different feeling from the way that I was before. Now, as time goes on, I spend more time in this, as I was talking about, this lighter energy. That's what it feels like, is lighter. And I would not have thought I was still here. And then I'd smoke a
Mm-hmm.
cigarette. I'm like, oh, I'm still here. It helped ground me out. So I'll tell you, there was times I felt like my feet were lifting off the ground. Like, what is real here? What is not? What's going on? I mean, yeah, question my own sanity, but these cigarettes helped me get through it.
Definitely, I understand that for sure. Yeah, I got off all my meds and everything I was doing except for caffeine and cigarettes. But in due time or whatever. Before, we got about 10 minutes left, I want to get into your gifts. I think that's like, how did they come online? Tell us about what that experience is like for other people that their gifts might be coming online.
Well, the dreams and visions were, one of the first ones that started. And I would have known now, what I've learned is a term of like astral projecting, or when you walk around outside of your body, you know, and overcoming that fear of, oh my gosh, I've left my body, and it's a growing process. I leave my body often now, and I go different places, and but here's the thing: I have noticed that I there's different types of lucid dreaming or vivid dreaming, or you could be getting a message that's just for you. Usually, like, if you're seeing a dream of tsunamis or catastrophic events and stuff like that, that means that your foundation is going to be torn down. You need to be brought back up. And then, like, but other ones, when you see events like seeing Donald Trump that night, I would call that like remote viewing something in the future, or others would call it prophecy, but it was in dream state. I wasn't like just prophesying at that time. But then I found, I go for my light switch, and if I can't turn my light switch on, if I can't click the light on, I know I'm outside in my body, and I go journeying around. And it took a little time for me to realize that there's no rules there, because I was trying to open doors and I couldn't open the doors because I didn't have because if I can't turn on a light switch, I can't open the doorknob, right? But I didn't need to open the door. I walked through the door. So I had several dream sessions where they were showing me how to go through the ceiling, which was difficult. I had problems with that one. So they started me with window first. Go out the window. I didn't have much problem going out the window. Going through doors or walls, I did pretty good with that. But when it came to trying to go through my ceiling and through my attic and through my roof, I was like, my mind was trying to fight that. But over time, I got it. I get it. So, that is an amazing gift. And I tell you guys, we are all able to do all of these things. It's just a matter, of allowing ourselves to go through the process. And, you got to, just like, for me, it was, I had to learn how to crawl and walk and then run and then fly. So that's, and I see, you can remote view, or you can see prophecy. People call that prophetic. Another gift that came on, which came on when I had what I called or thought of as the Holy Spirit baptism, was speaking in tongues, where I was actually speaking multiple different languages, and I got it confirmed with 3 different men of the cloth, so to speak, because when this happened, I was still heavily indoctrinated and was looking for answers. And they said I was speaking in Hebrew. There was a lot of Hebrew in there. And I don't know any Hebrew. I don't know any foreign language. I flunked Spanish, guys. I had to get out of that class and take something else. I am not bilingual at all. But now I'm able to speak a few languages in that prayer time. And they call it like the tongues of angels. Well, of course, angels would be able to speak all languages, right? Of course, it's just normal. So, and in those, I learned that I get when I'm by myself, and that comes over me, that I'll pray in that language, but then I'll get the messages that I'm to listen for in English, so then I can understand them. I'm also learning how to read energies. When I feel like that, I've had this has happened on a few occasions on discerning the energies and how it's going to impact somebody else and what I need to do to intercept, so the harm won't be done. Almost like precognition of that something's going to happen that could hurt somebody terribly, and I get that feeling, and what it feels like is that old energy that we used to live in, that I used to live in daily. I'll feel it, and it's like, okay, I've got a decision to make. I need to look around, what's going on, and then when it leaves. The first time it happened was not too long ago with this one. I felt that energy go back and forth over time, but I didn't understand what the meaning was. On Mother's Day, I was on our way back, and it happened, and I told my husband, I said, I felt heavy, and I didn't understand what the heck was going on. Well, then in dream state, when I went to sleep, I got all the answers in the dream to show me what was going on. Well, and then it just happened again the other day, and I was able to then acknowledge that, what it was. And as soon as I made an alteration, and once I made that alteration, the energy went back to light energy again. So I may have prevented something that could have been harmful to somebody else. So, that's a part of, learning how to read energies.
Is that
Also,
connected with seeing auras, or is that different?
seeing auras is something that with her name was Dana Jensen. I started seeing that when she was talking about it, and what she did was, this is, I have not gotten to this level with this yet, but she was actually able to push a color from herself out. And I was watching, and she's like, was at a white screen like you did behind her. And I saw it, and she didn't tell anybody what the color was. And I texted it to her. I said, it went this color, and then it went pop. And she said, that's exactly right. And since then, when people are against white backgrounds, I gaze at them, I relax my eyes, and I look at them, and I can see. And it also helps me a little bit with interviewing. When they get real close and tight with they're nervous. And then when they relax out, the whiteness will expand out, that they're comfortable. And that is another gift. That's what I'm saying. There's so many different gifts being stirred up. And another one is, you feel tingling in your hands. Your hands will like tingle, like that vibrating feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You try to make a ball, and you feel it like vibrating more and more and more. Well, that is a healing energy. So you can apply that as for healing somebody, or applying that energy, ball it up and send it out, and making that person whole. Viewing them whole already, even if they're claiming an illness, because even the scripture says we pray for things we know not, okay? And the Spirit gives us utterance. Because if somebody says they're sick, and we're all like, oh my gosh, please heal them, please, we're acknowledging the sickness and could be making them worse. So you imagine the person whole, make that ball of energy of love and health and healing, and send it. And we just did an energy exchange the other day. That is something that I am working on, and you did receive it. You acknowledged that you received it. So, there's so much that we can do for each other to lift each other up and bring each other along on this path. But it is narrow because there's just you on it. So, yeah.
So what colors are you seeing around me right now? Are you seeing an aura? Am I open right now? Am I closed?
Oh yeah, you're open. You're open, and you're blue. Lots of blues and purples. And you always have a green that, I'll be able to, when I review it, I'll be able to see it better. But when I was reviewing the interview I did with you, you've got a where I can see you now with white, because I'm nervous and I'm engaged in this conversation.
Right.
But when I relax and look, you had your aura was so big, and it depended on what was going on or what you were talking about. It was making those greens, which is heart. I feel like if I didn't see in greens for somebody, that's the heart. Blues is you've got your throat chakra open and you're able to vocalize what's going on with you. Purples, you're getting higher, and then you get into the pinks, and you're just connected. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching that, and I implore anybody to watch that interview that I did with Shane and just watch his aura. Just relax your eyes, focus like where his third eye would be, in the center, and just allow your eyes to relax and just watch his aura and just see it. It's beautiful. I cannot yet do it in life.
So it's easier to do it when it's a white background, sort of like I have right now then.
Yes. When people are using green screen and stuff like that, I can't do it. Maybe there are people that can, but I cannot yet. I'm working on it.
I wonder if the green screen cuts it out or something.
It might, because of we're putting in the false background.
Yeah.
And so it picked, and then you've got the filters and everything going on. So, right.
It's like putting an artificial cover over it.
Right. But for me right now, it helps with the white background. There's other people that can see them no matter what. I had a lady come on earlier on the open format and said that she saw people in colors. That's her natural eyes. She saw them in blues and greens, and she saw them in aura colors, not black and white, but colors. Beautiful. She's going to do an interview next week, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about that when she comes on.
That's awesome. So these are things that you think are probably be coming online for everyone, or people. You think people could probably start doing it? They're just not noticing it or don't know to look for it.
I feel this is an everybody thing, and it is everybody in their time, and we're not going to be given too much that we can't handle it. And the people that are coming out and putting this information out is going to help it be a more graceful process. So maybe they won't have to go through, as dark of a dark night like I went through, or as confused as I was, or as confused as you got, because you're putting the information out for people so they can glean from it. And that's what I'm trying to do on my channel. So to help people, I'll throw you the rope, but you've got to be wanting to grab it. And you can't force anybody to do anything. It's going to be their choice. But I do feel, yes, this is for everybody. Everybody and anybody that makes the choice to pursue it will have it.
Real quick before we go, how do you do the connection with other people? Like we did the energy exchange the other day, right after the show. And I do have her link below, so you guys can go over to her channel and see the interview we did just a couple of days ago and check it out. But how do you do that connection with other people?
I link up with your heart. So what I do is I will link up with your heart, and I'll feel what's going on with you, and then I can kind of see, and I see pictures. So I was able to tell you a few things because I can see pictures. So whether they be for confirmation that I'm actually linked up for you to know, or or what have you. But what I was sending you was unconditional love. That was what I was sending to you, was unconditional love. But your heart is already like expanded. I mean, you've got a wonderful heart. It's obvious. You can't hide that.
Well, it's a wonderful group we have here. I mean, everybody. I felt the love back, and it's funny. I've watched my own videos before, and I felt the love coming from myself. How do you explain that? That's just weird, because it's
the energy comes through. Yes. I did too. Yes, the energy comes through. It does. Isn't that weird?
It is. It's amazing. It really shows you how there is no time and space. There's little clues at the fact that their distance doesn't matter and time doesn't matter. All of these things are just sort of ways for us to perceive reality, but they're just set up for our suit that we're in here, our flesh vessel, if you will.
Yeah. and we can leave it and go travel around and have a good time and go see some amazing things, and then we come right back to it. That's what people they're afraid of. If they travel around, that they may get lost. You won't get lost. You know exactly where home is, and you will always come back to your body whenever you're ready. But if you're out there having a good time, you may sleep, but you'll still hear your alarm clock. So don't worry about that stuff too. If you've got somewhere you have to be or whatever, and you're off on a trip, your body will still hear the alarm clock and you will come back. So don't have any fear. Just go with it, grow with it, and enjoy it.
That's awesome advice. Oh, shout out to Greg from N5D. Welcome here. I need to get you on sometime, man. I'll send you an email or something. But 75 people in here. I can tell you now that we're wrapping it up, so it won't make you nervous or anything.
Okay.
Well, lots of love.
That would make me nervous. There's a lot of people.
Thank you so much for coming on here, Michele. And like I said, for those that just hopped in, her link is down below. Go and subscribe. Let's give her a little boost of her subscribers, because we're all sort of here in that clearing I mentioned earlier. People are coming out of the wilderness, and it's so comforting that they can come across channels like ours, and just to know that they're not going crazy. It's comforting, and you're not going crazy. Things are changing, reality's changing, everything's changing. We're all evolving together, and we're all like this online family that comfort each other, love on each other, and we are so glad that you're part of that family. There are no rules. There's, if you want to be a part of it, you can just be a part of it. No leaders or anything. We're all on our journey, and we're just supporting each other. Anything you want to say? Any last words, Michele?
Yeah, I am all about unity and diversity, and we're holding hands side by side. And yeah, there's no hierarchy. I don't see hierarchy. I see us all as equals. And yes, it is a wonderful transformation for us all to go through. And yeah, that's why I do a lot of interviews, because I may not resonate with everybody, but maybe they'll resonate with somebody that comes on and does an interview, and then they can help them through. So we're in this together. And I want to thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you coming on to my show too. I'm getting lots of love from Unbiased on the Fence this week.
No problem. It was certainly my pleasure. And you guys should check out that video I did on her, that interview I did with her, because I actually included some pictures of my childhood and stuff that I've never shared on the show. I wanted to have something special to give you guys an incentive to go over there. It's about a half dozen or so pictures. And so go check that out. I think you'll get a kick out of it. And there's even some embarrassing ones I shared on there. So go watch that video, and we will see you guys on the next one. Lots of love and light to everyone, and peace. Peace, Michele.
Namaste.
Namaste.